Are we live? It took a little bit of time, but I think we're there. Is that correct? Are we there? I think we are. Okay, that's good. So we are on a live stream, and I'm Mark Carpentieri, president of MC Records. And I'm sorry it took so long, but I have to say this is a bit of a what we call in Italian a mitigash. So not the most user-friendly situation with Facebook, but here we are, and I'm so glad you are joining me. And we are going to talk about three different things today. We're going to talk about websites because that's important. That's where it all begins, and Facebook is not a website. Keep that in mind. We're going to talk about email marketing. Email is the most important thing you can get. We're also going to talk about distribution, getting your music on all the platforms and doing that. Manufacturing, because since we're all here in the blues, we are based on a lot of physical product. So we need to make sure that we are doing this in a way that it looks great, that we're definitely in that situation that looks great. And then finally, we'll do some radio station lists. Uh, I think the key here is I'm going to try to get some comments here and look at some questions if I can get them. But first, let's go to the old PowerPoints if we can get that going. So one of the first things that is really important is to understand that um, uh, one of the first things is websites. You, I think one of the things is when a lot of bands talk to me and they say, "Hey, we're interested. We're looking at that. We're interested in having you sign us." The first thing I look is at the website. And there are a lot of things that we can take a look at. So first, there are. I actually have a PowerPoint to this. So if anyone wants it, we can definitely do that. So I can definitely send that to you. I can definitely make sure you're doing that. And I'm trying to figure out how to share my screen. And if I can, or if someone can help me do that, I will do that. But based on that, I'm going to go through the PowerPoint I do have and talk about some of the things that are really are important. So, for example, um, it's important that every website has three main things, seven things. That's really what you want to look at. Um, it's important that all your information is there. So, one of the first things that is important is to make sure you have the first thing is you want to have your tour dates and live streaming events. Obviously, people are doing a lot of touring, but again, we're in the position now where we are definitely looking at a situation where COVID and other things could come up. So we want to have that. Second thing is your pitch. What makes you different? What makes you as an artist different? What makes it special? What's your story, right? What makes you interesting? So that's important. We certainly want to have the ability, if you have it, to buy merch, stream music. Again, merch is not just CDs, but could be anything, T-shirts, anything that your fans would be interested in. We also want to have the email list. We're going to talk about this a lot because the email list is critical. I constantly hear people say, well, I have a Facebook page. Well, that's not the same because you can miss that. But if I have your email, and especially if a fan has opted in, they're going to open your email. That fan may miss the post, they may miss things, but if you give them an email, it's much easier to share, much easier to do things. Email is critical, especially for our age. Email is critical. The other thing is contact information that you're checking, not not information that you're not checking. So that's really important. So if you have a Gmail, something like that, that's reflective, that would be great. You want to make sure you have that, and link to socials, whatever your socials are, whether Facebook, Twitter, etc. You want to have those links. You want to have those 7 critical things, and if you do have those critical things, you're in a good spot because you have everything people need for you to tell your story. And I think one of the most important things that we can talk about is making sure your website pops and it looks good and it's clean. So if you have all that, you're in a good spot. So let's talk about some other things. The other thing I did want to talk about is which particular websites for musicians. And I think one of the best ones is Bandzoogle. And I think Bandzoogle, BANDZOGGLE.com, what I like about them is they're specifically made for musicians. And I think that's really helpful. And listen, I understand a lot of musicians are not tech savvy. This is kind of that drag and drop thing. And that drag and drop thing is so important because I really feel that if you can't update your site, if you can't use it, you won't. It can't be like, struggling. I've used some other ones. My band's website back on Bourbon Street is actually with GoDaddy. I don't particularly recommend GoDaddy, but because I have so much stuff with them, it's practically free, and it actually is not a bad interface. But there are ones that are better, and certainly Bandzoogle.com is one of them because they offer such a rich array of features that as you expand, whether it's selling music, doing your email lists, everything's right there for you. And it's so difficult as a musician myself that I can't be trying to go to different websites. I got to do this with my email. I got to do this. You want to have it in one place that is going to work for you. That's going to be critical because if it's not, then again, the important with all this is the ability to update it easily, update it quickly, and it still looks great. So Bandzoogle is definitely one that I completely recommend. Another one is Squarespace. Squarespace also has a particular focus on musicians, so both of them will work well. And I think one of the things that when people ask me, well, which one do you? It's the one that fits you best. Most of these will have the opportunity for you to 100% try it for free, or it's a 30-day trial. Again, what I think is easy, you may not find easy, and the opposite. So I think the important thing is figuring out what works for you now, and what are you going to be able to work with. Because, as I said, the first thing I look at is not someone's Facebook page, not someone's YouTube channel, but I look at the website. And if that website is not working, or it's not been updated, or there's not music, there's not links, that tells me there's a problem. That tells me there's a situation there where it's not cohesive, it's not working. You don't want to be that. You want to make sure that you have the best opportunity. Now, you may be asking, how much is this? It's not that much. $15 to $20 a month. Again, you go on those sites, Squarespace, you go to Bandzoogle, and you can see the different the cost factors. It's not a lot of money. And again, one of the things that's really important is, where do you want to be? Do you want to be at this level or something else? So I think that's really important when people take you seriously. People take you seriously when you look serious, right? Okay. Again, don't hesitate to send questions. That would be great. I would love to, I know I'm going through a bunch of things, and I certainly would uh, love to, if you have any questions, and I'll give you an email that we can look at later. That I'll send you the PowerPoints to all this. Again, this is the first time I'm using this, and it's not so easy to share these things, but I'm more than happy to share. I did a beautiful PowerPoint presentation with all this information and links and stuff like that, so I'm kind of going over it now, but I am absolutely more than happy to send this to you and answer some questions to you. Okay? We're good? Right on. So let's go to the next thing. Email marketing. Okay, then. You got to get people's emails. So when you're at a gig, you put your email list out. It should be on your website that people can sign up for that. That's really important because it's a way to directly connect with you, with the audience. All your posts on Facebook and the other social media, your fans can miss them. Email, especially if they've opted in, and you can't really put people's email if they haven't opted in. Story for another time. But certainly, you want to make sure that you have that ability because it starts a conversation. You're sending them stuff. You're talking about your dates. You're not posting something and someone said, "Oh, I didn't see it." And by the way, not everyone's on Facebook. And again, I would imagine that a lot of people who are watching this um, are older like me, and not everyone's on Facebook. A lot of people that follow my band, and I know other people's bands, they're not on Facebook. So if you don't have their email, how are you connecting with them? Email's the way to do it. And again, it's not instead of Facebook or your other social media portals, it's an addition to. And it's really important to understand that those other two websites that I mentioned will both help you with your email marketing. Again, you want to have that one stop. Yes, you probably could save money if you went to here, you went to there, but we don't, as a musician, as a band leader, we don't have that time. Again, we don't want to spend $600, but again, we want to have one place where we look professional, where we can send information out to our fans and make it cohesive. So that's why Wix and Bandzoogle really work great. Okay. So where should we be looking at in terms of email? Again, if you're already set up, with your website and they do not offer that, you can go outside, and I'm going to recommend 3 of them, which would be free for most people out there. So now I'm trying to get to the comments. Okay. So I'm trying to find these comments. I see there are 3 comments, and I am not sure why I can't get these comments. So perhaps Peter can help me with that. I think Peter's watching this. I have 3 comments, and again, it should just come up, but for some reason it does not. And let me see if I can click the comments. And of course, I'm clicking the comments, and nothing's happening. Facebook, honestly, you guys need a much better job. I see there are a couple of. I see that there is. Is there a market for blues bands these days? Yes, of course. I mean, we see the posts every Tuesday. We have JP. We have we have all these. We have the blues groupie. Of course, there are plenty of them. and I think there is I'm pretty excited that there's so many bands out there, and they're really good, and they're entertaining. So I think there is definitely a market for blues bands these days. I think that's why the society exists, and why a lot of people are here doing it. I also got a question: is there a friendly, polite way to gather emails? I wouldn't hesitate, especially for artists that are those artists that have a strong Facebook following, to ask them. I mean, they're already your fans. I mean, especially now. Here's another little trick that a lot of bands do. If you give them an email, if they give you an email, you give them a free download. So if you actually have recorded music, you can, wave that little, you can wave that little carrot and say, hey. And again, I think for most of us who are in blues bands who are dealing with a older crowd, everyone here is on Facebook. You certainly can ask them to sign up, and you certainly can say, hey, if you do that, I'll shoot you a free MP3 or something like that. So I definitely think that that's a good way to do it. And certainly when you're doing your shows, definitely say that, or have a list right next to your tip cup. Right next to your tip cup, have that, so people can do it. I know it's not easy to do. People aren't so willing, but if you work on that, it's not something that's going to happen in 2 weeks. It's not something that is going to happen in a month, but it's something that should be ongoing, something you should have a goal to do. So reach out to the people and say, hey, I'd love to have your email. I'm not going to sell it. I'm not going to do it. But when we do have shows, I want to let you know what's going on. And I think most people who have liked your page or are following you would be more than happy to do it. So don't hesitate to do that. Now, I want to recommend a few of them which are free. The next three I'm going to mention are free. First is MailChimp. And by the way, I know all these companies, so I'm not recommending something that is at best skittish. These are reputable companies. So the first I'm going to recommend is MailChimp. MailChimp has been around. If you get email, it's pretty likely you've seen the MailChimp stuff at the bottom. And they actually have a free level, which is pretty cool. And I think for most bands and artists here, you could absolutely use that free level. Once you get past 1,000 names and stuff like that, you can afford to spend the $5 or $10 a month. But for now, you can definitely do that. And they include templates, so you look great, and all that. So again, definitely recommend MailChimp. Another one that I personally use and have for 5 years is Reachmail, reachmail.net. I've used them for 5 years. They also have a free tier. The tier that I have is $10 a month, which is probably the lowest tier that you can do after free. And I have just been very happy with them, their analytics, everything about them, their customer service. They get back to you very quickly. I remember they got back to me, and I've had several issues. I mean, over 5 years, they get back to me within like 30 minutes. So I can't recommend Reachmail enough. I really do like them. Again, another free tier. Again, what fits for you? Okay, that's the real question with all of this information. What's going to work for you? So again, if you already have a website and you don't have email marketing, these are some recommendations I can make. Now, finally, I'm going to talk about Benchmark Email. Benchmark Email is also another one. Been around for years. Very reputable. Also has that free tier. So I figured I would start there. and give you the free stuff. And by the way, one of my former artists, person I love, Dana Kurtz, uses Reachmail, the free level, and she's been using it for years. Her emails look, uh, uh, it looks great. Gale Storm. Uh, Gale, does that appear as spam when using mailing list companies? What a great um, uh, uh, question. First, when you set up any of these, it comes from your email. In other words, when I send something out to, I'm going to talk about my record label. When I send stuff out to radio, when I send stuff out to media, when I send out stuff to foreign distributors, even though I'm using Reach Mail, it when people get it, it says coming from MC at MC-Records. So, for example, Gail, you use your email address, and if you use one of these services and you sign up, when the person receives it, it will come as your email address. So that's less likely to be as spam. Matter of fact, you have a better chance of it not being spam than you do sending it through your own email where you're putting in different pictures and stuff like that, which causes spam. So, great question, Gail. That's one of the reasons it works because if you've been sending out emails, I know a lot of people do that are not using this and using your own email. When you sign up for a Reach Mail or any of these, when I receive it, it'll be coming from Galestorm. It won't be coming from Reach Mail. And that's how you get to open it. It's not going to be from a third party. It'll just look a lot better. And you'll be able to get analytics on it, like who opened it, when did they open it, how many times did they open it, what did they click, it's a lot of fun on the paid stuff. So thank you, Gail, for that's a really great question about that. So please keep those questions coming. So where were we? We were talking about the different email providers. Again, I do have these PowerPoints. If you shoot me a private message, I'm more than happy to do this for. I'm more than happy to send these PowerPoints, which I'm not able to do right now, and show you to them. Okay, distribution. Distribution. How do you get your stuff from here to there? Now, I'm not talking about physical. Physical distribution is going to have to come through your own site. And again, a lot of the sites I have mentioned will help you with physical. Some will, some won't. But I think the main thing is that physical really has to come from you. The idea of getting physical distribution nationally, there's just so few places. So your best place to sell is through your website. And that's why using one of those sites that I mentioned earlier will help, because they can help, they can put that up there. They can collect the money, send you the money. Again, you have to look at that. You have to look at each of those and see what fits best. But usually how it works is someone orders the CD. Of course, you have to send it. But in terms of someone paying with a credit card, they take the credit card, they take a percentage because they have to process it, comes to you, goes into your account, and then you mail it out. That's the best way to do it, really is. And those sites, Wix and Bandzoogle, all have those options. So again, definitely take a look at that. So we talk about distribution, and we're talking about digital distribution. Now, there's two types of digital distribution I want to talk about. First, this is the distribution where you're looking at iTunes, Spotify, those kinds of things, where people can stream your music. And that's great. Kind of, sort of. Talk about that in a minute. But the first thing is a lot of those will definitely do it. And all of the ones I'm going to mention will also have it available for sale on iTunes, Amazon Music, not the physical, but the digital for sale. They'll have that, Amazon, if you've ever gone to Amazon, you can buy digital as well, not just the physical product. So they all give you this option of two things. They give you the option of a digital stream and a digital sale. Okay. There are three. Now, there are more than that, but I'm going to mention three that are probably the most popular, probably the most reputable. This is an area that's very expanded. And I think if you went with any of these three, you'll be fine. As Tom Waite says, it's all in the fine print, right? The large print giveth, and the small print taketh away. So, again, just make sure you know what you're signing up for. So, a couple of them are DistroKid. DistroKid. I'm actually for another deal, which I won't go into because it would take like an hour. I actually am part of DistroKid with one of the releases I've done. And again, very clear reports of where you've sold it, stuff like that. Again, they're not going to market it for you. What they will do is make it available. So, for example, if you've released a record, you go through one of these sites, and you share that link, people can listen to it through all the major services. People can buy it through iTunes and the place where they can buy digital music. It all works out great. So DistroKid, DistroKid.com. Excellent. They are really good. Another one is CD Baby. Of course, CD Baby's been around since CDs. So they are quite reputable, but they also do digital distribution. So I think cdbaby.com would be another choice. Again, what's going to fit for you? Look at what they offer. Everyone offers something a little different, and whatever fits for you is going to work great. Another one is TuneCore. Now, TuneCore, which makes it interesting, is they actually do have a physical option. So when you go there, you can check that out if you think that's something you might be interested in. TuneCore, TuneCore.com. TuneCore. Is SoundCloud an option for distribution? It can be. They certainly have that option for doing it. I use SoundCloud, by the way. I use SoundCloud. And what I do at SoundCloud, if you're not familiar with it, it's a place where you can stream a lot of independent music. And I use it when I do my releases, and let's say the record's coming out, let's just use July 1st of this year. But I'm sending out a press release to radio and media, and I want them to be able to listen to it beforehand. So what I can do is set up a couple of private tracks on SoundCloud. But yes, you can definitely do SoundCloud for distribution. They do have that option. Again, you have to check it out. I actually have never thought of it for that way. I use it in a certain way, but you can do that. Any analytics on digital downloads for the blues audience? Are they more likely to buy a CD? That's a great question, Gail. Gail Storm checking in. Yes, people are more likely to buy a CD. However, you have to be able to put that CD in front of them, right? So if you can figure out it, all of this is really about connecting with your audience. Everything I'm talking about is about you as an artist, if you're an artist, connecting with your fans. Because if you can connect with your fans through the website, through your email marketing, through all these things, then when you have something for sale, they're more likely to do it. So yes, they are. They're more likely to buy a CD, but of course, how do they get these CDs? That's really the question. So you have to have a way to set that up. And again, not just set it up, but also have a situation to where they can pay for it easily and be able to send that out. But if you can reach them, they'll do it. They'll definitely do it. and we're talking about radio and media and talk about how much they love CDs, which can be a bit of a problem for us on the other end. So thank you for all these great questions. I really appreciate it. All right, so let's continue. So I've mentioned the three: DistroKid, CD Baby, TuneCore. There are plenty of others. I don't want to make it sound like those are the only ones, uh, but I'm just trying to like really narrow it down in this kind of short session. Uh, so I also have, if you request the PowerPoint, you'll see about. I have this wonderful article about distribution in general, and you can see what that's about because it's kind of interesting. So I have that. Now, you talk about streaming, so let's talk about streaming for a minute. So, how many Spotify streams does it take for you to make $1? I'm so glad you asked that. 250. Takes 250 of those streams of your song, and you get $1. That's why we're trying to get people to, your fans to enjoy music in another way. But that's the going rate. Other services are less, but if it's 100 streams, that's still not great. Now, again, if you're signed up with TuneCore, you're signed up with DistroKid, you'll get paid for those. So that's a good thing, right? I mean, you want to make sure your music's on these services and it's a very little cost to you. And it's a great way to send that information to other people to say, hey, listen, I'm on the major services, right? So you look legit. So that's really important, all right? So again, thank you so much for these great questions. It really is, it's really quite helpful. And I'm more than happy to answer more questions after this if you think of something or you want the PowerPoint. I'm more than happy to do that because that's what I do. Okay, so the package is still important. Probably a lot of you have had experience making CDs. That's great. Um, okay, um, uh, so we'll talk about. So Peter's gone. How many songs should an artist ban unknown artist on their first attempt to be heard? That's a great question. And if you know me for more than a month, you'll probably hear my phrase, all killer, no filler. So it's not necessary anymore, especially you can make a EP. I recommend that. You don't have to come out with 10 tracks. You don't. So I think an artist band, especially in this world, the low cost of making CDs, if and again, if we're in this realm of blues and roots and folk and all that, that's eventually going to be something that will need to be done. But if you do a 4 song and it's just your best stuff and you don't have to fill it up with another 8 songs, so much better. You don't have to do that. The reason why, certainly one of the main reasons why artists in our field do that is so they could sell them on the gigs. I mean, who's going to buy, a 4 song CD? I mean, I guess if you sold it at, $2, that's fine. But, that's a great question, Peter. I think, and I'm seeing this a lot more, where artists are doing smaller releases and especially new ones. I think if you're a newer artist, I would certainly recommend that because in the digital distribution era, you can do 4 songs, then 6 months later, do another 4 songs. So I think that's really, really important to think about that in that way, especially if you haven't had music out there before. You really think you have 4 great songs, and you don't want to fill it up with other stuff. So I would definitely do that. I mean, I'm seeing that a lot more. Live recordings from clubs. I think live recordings are great from clubs if there's video. I think that's one of the things that has also been a real help to a lot of band. You can record video a lot less expensive than you used to. So I think live is great, especially if there's a certain energy to the band. You certainly could do it in multi tracks to where if you want to edit it, you can. The one thing if you're thinking about recording live, the one thing to make sure you do is to do multiple evenings. If you're just going to do one night, anything can happen on that one night. So you want to plan to do multiple nights to get the best stuff. But I think the video, especially if you're a dynamic live band, you've rehearsed, you have these whether it's a song you've complete. Now listen, if you're gonna do Sweet Home Chicago, don't bother. Now it doesn't mean you can't do a cover, but if it's a cover that you have done that is unique, that's great. Um, because that can be very powerful too, and that's not that unusual. I'll go back and I'll go to a more pop, the band Lake Street Dive, if anyone knows them. The way they got started was they did a video of they did such a unique version of the Jackson Five's I Want You Back that it really was a signature thing. So yeah, they are definitely marketable, but you have to prepare for that, and I think that's really important. So great question. All right, so we are rolling like a big wheel. Yes, so if you're doing these CDs again, you want to make sure that you're doing things the right way. So there are plenty of places that replicate them, but it's important to do it right. That means your music's recorded right. Uh, um, you want to make sure your pictures are good. Again, the goal of putting something out is you're marking time and you're saying we're here. I think most people, at least when I started my band back in '88, Something Blue, I always wanted to play with the best. I wanted my band to play with the best. And when we recorded, it was to make sure that we are uh, there at that time and recording and making sure it's really done right. And that includes pictures and everything. And again, what's great now is you can take those pictures and put them on your website, make sure you get the signature off that you've paid for them and all that other stuff. But yes, it's really important that when you do your CDs, um, you have all the elements that make it look professional. Now, you should certainly make sure that it's designed correctly. Not everyone's a designer. Some of these places, like disc makers and other ones, do have the ability for you to submit your stuff, and they'll design it for you for a fee. A well-designed package speaks volumes. So don't forget that. So just a couple I do want to mention. Certainly, Disc Makers has been around since the '90s. When I first started, I used them because they had other services that I needed. As I made more and more releases, I did not need those, so I didn't want to pay for something I did not need. So a couple of other ones besides Disc Makers, which I recommend. I mean, I think they do great work if you need that kind of work, because you're paying for a lot of things that you may or may not need. And if you need it, it's great. They do a fantastic job, and they've been around for at least 25 years. So some other ones, the ones I use would be WTS Media. Now again, you would use something like WTSmedia.com. Thank you. WTSmedia.com when everything's ready. You don't need anything. You don't need design. You just need 200 ripped, and they'll probably get you the best price. And I've used them for years. The turnaround's great. There's no bells and whistles. It's basically you're giving them from your graphic designer, you're giving them the CD package, and they're going to replicate it for you. So I recommend them. I've been using them for, I don't know, 10 years. I've done thousands and thousands of CDs with them. Another one you could also look at, I've used them for vinyl, is Furnace. And the website to that is Furnace Manufacturing, or furnacemfg.com. They do a great job. They have great customer service. They do vinyl. Just a quick note about vinyl. Vinyl's backed up. Usually you have to get, now they're going to a lower amount, but usually it's about 6 months to get it done. Not it's expensive. So if you're going to go into vinyl, my suggestion to you is look at the prices, see what's real and what you can do. There's a lot of expenses to that, and make sure you get the whole price on that. But again, furnacemfg.com does a great job. They do vinyl, they do CDs. Okay, where are we going here? Okay, radio station lists. First, everyone wants to get their music played on radio stations, and that makes sense. And by the way, I've been I've been doing this radio thing for in terms of getting my stuff played for like 30 years. What I love about what I love about it now, when I look at a lot of charts. So, for example, radio stations send out their monthly charts to me, blues stations, and I see the releases. So many of them are independent. That's great. That means you can get airplay if your stuff's good, if you know where to get those addresses. Now, what I found out recently, and I'm really happy about that, just to get you started, if you go onto the website blues.org, there is a link there for radio stations, and they have a decent amount. They have some internet ones, they have some ones at terrestrial. Um, they're great. So I would start there to look at it and see, once you have something ready, there you go, right? So you want to make sure that that's a really great source to just kind of whet your appetite. And it's blues.org, and you'll see that there's a bunch of stations. A couple other things you can do if you if you ever do a search for internet radio stations, you'll find hundreds of them. The trick is with all of those. Trick with all of those is thank you for Peter for that blues.org, and I think the blues.org and the backslash is genre backslash blues, and you'll find the radio stations. So I don't know if you're whoever's Pete, if you could find that and share that, that would be great. Oh, actually, I can share that. Hold on a second. I think I can write this comment. Let me see if I can get this done. Let's see if I can get my rolling done. Hold on. And I see there's a couple other questions. I'm going to answer them. Let's see if I got this. Let's see if I can write a comment. I think I can. And there you go. Those are your blues radio stations. I can share all these links with you. Now, I do have a couple of questions. So there's some radio stations you will see. And it gives you some digital, gives you some other stuff. Okay, so I had a question from Bill, Monica Bill. If you want to record an album and have some covers of classic blues tunes on it, how do you properly make sure all royalty licenses are paid? Great question. Everyone has this. So many people have this. They're going to print 100 CDs, and they want to make sure that the folks of Little Walter and B.B. King are paid for. So I'm going to, now that I can share stuff with you, I'm going to do the Harry Fox agency is where you want to do. And you can basically, through the Harry Fox agency, through this, you can actually find the song you want, and I'm gonna give you the link to song file, and you look it up. So if you're printing 100 copies, you can go there, look for the song, say I'm printing 100 copies, and they'll basically you pay the money, and they give you a license. It's really great. So I'm sharing that with you now. I love this now. I wish I would have known this before. I could have shared all this with you. So there you go. That's song file. And if you click that, you'll be able to license any popular song, blues classic, Jimmy Reed, Howlin' Wolf, B.B. King, whatever you want. They're going to be there. So that's a great question, Bill. And we can that's this way everyone's paid, which is really what everyone wants. let's see. I think we've answered some of those questions. So those are some radio stations. Again, internet radio stations are a great way to expand. And as I said, you'll see them through the Long Island. Um, you'll see them through the Long Island. I'm sorry. Um, okay, I got distracted with Gail's question, which I'm going to answer in a minute. Um, So, in terms of Gail's asked, isn't it true all songs are not Harry Fox? That is true, but I think every blues song you're going to look for is on Harry Fox. Some artists, such as Jimi Hendrix, Bob Dylan, are not on Harry Fox because Harry Fox has taken a fee. So, if you want to license a song from Bob Dylan, you can. There's not they can't say no. You just have to pay them directly. There is no Harry Fox. But yes, I think every song, Gail, that certainly we do, certainly I seen you do before, they're likely to be on Songfile. That's where you go first. You want Songfile, not Harry Fox. Songfile is part of Harry Fox. I'm sorry, these are details. But if you go to Songfile, you'll see how easy it is to license those songs when you make your records. You just pop in the number you're doing, you pay it, and it's done, and you have your license, and that person's been paid. Okay, we're good. Okay. So yes, I was talking about digital radio. I love digital radio because one of the difference is as compared to college radio. First, you get paid on digital radio. You get paid a little more. You don't get paid anything on college. And secondly, these digital radio stations. I'm going to share this with you. As I said, I'm sorry I didn't know about this. I can't wait to do the next one, so I know all these tricks, and I can figure this out. So when I do a search on radio.net, I'm not saying they're all relevant, but a lot are. When I do that search, you'll see here that if I click that, you'll see, oh, I don't want these blues. Not anything wrong with that, but you'll see here there's like there's over 400 songs. I mean 400 blues radio stations, according to them. Now, if you go in a little deeper, a lot of them are not blues, but a lot of them are. And one of the things that's important to do, because a lot of these, more and more stations are digital. So these 24-hour 7-day a week digital stations, they need content. And if your content's good, they want your content. The difference is they don't want a CD. They want MP3s, sometimes WAV files. So you have to figure that out and put that in a folder to make sure that you can send it to them. So I think one of the things that's another thing, and that's good. That you could send it without having to spend money on it. So I certainly recommend that when you do this, I would definitely look at this. And as I said, the one I posted before from blues.org has a bunch of the 24-hour, 7-day a week digital stations. And you'll notice if you go on them, they'll tell you how to submit music. And again, do it exactly as they say. That's really the key because they get a lot of stuff, and if you're not going to do it the right way, they're going to skip that. So I think those are some of the, I think that's really a great way to get airplay. As I said, I could do this for the next 3 hours. I just wanted to cover a certain amount of information here about websites, about distribution, about email marketing. And if you guys have more questions, I'll stay here as long as you like till the questions keep coming. I have no problem. And as I said, if you have other questions once we're done, I'm more than happy to answer them. As I said, I'm sorry I didn't know I could actually post a comment myself. So if there's any of the stuff I said before, or if there's any of the sites that you want to have, and you want me to send it to you now, I can. And as I said, it's a wonderful. No, I don't know if it's wonderful, but it's a pretty good PowerPoint, and I'm more than happy to send that to you directly, and it has all the links there and everything like that. Um, oh yes, learn the hard way that songs are too long, demand more. Okay, great point, Gail. Okay, um, mechanical licenses. Mechanical licenses are the stuff you pay through what I've learned before through Songfile. Now, if you do a 10-minute version of a song, it costs, now I'm using round numbers, about 9 cents a song. So if you print up 100 CDs, you're paying $9 a song, right? But those rates increase because the first thing they're going to ask you is how many minutes it is. So every minute, I think it's pretty much every minute over 4 minutes, I think it's 4 minutes, you have to pay more money. Keep that in mind. But then again, how many are you really printing? And if that shouldn't really affect how you do it. What should affect it is the performance. And if it takes 7 minutes to articulate that song the way you want it articulated, you want it played, and is going to showcase you, the extra 3 cents is not a big deal. But yes, you're right, Gail. If you're doing 10 minutes, if you do it, the longer you do it, the more money you have to pay. So that's an excellent point. It's not 9 point whatever cents. And I also believe the mechanical rates are going up. So that's something else to look at. Again, I'm sorry I started late. I completely apologize. Um, the Zoom thing I'd have like that, but I'm doing my first Facebook Live, and I'm very excited to share this information with you, and I have a lot more. But I did want to do just basically have an outline. So, are there any more questions or comments before try to get it? Is that getting? That's a really good point, Pete. Listen, blues always starts at the local point. The state. I mean, one of the great things about now, whether you know or not, I did radio for 10 years. I had my own show at Adelphi University. What's so much better now is every terrestrial over-the-air FM station you can stream around the world. So it's so important. They are the USBs and the 100 200 stations, 300 stations I sent to just in the United States are very critical because now people are listening all over the world. So the various shows on USB are not just like back in the day when I did it, being restricted by how big your antenna is. Now it helps to have a bigger one because most of your audience is going to be local, but you're not doing that. And the Facebook ties really help. They absolutely do. It's all about marketing, but again, also the emails. That's important too. Everyone's not on Facebook. It all works together. The marketing, local marketing, tagging the club and all that. You have to do everything like that. So yes, those stations, the USBs, and all the stations we have across the country, Canada, even in Europe for bands there are really critical, and they absolutely help. Rebranding, Gail, do the rebranding. That's really a whole other thing in terms of rebranding a band or an artist. That's I think that's something that's a very individual thing. I think there have been some tremendous. I mean, I'm talking about like pop wise, Tom Jones, for example, did a phenomenal job of rebranding, and Tony Bennett as well. But that's a whole other. That's difficult, to turn things around. But I think rebranding is also. I mean, it's I'd have to have more information about that. Okay. Any more questions before we say goodnight? We're good. Okay. So just to wrap this up, again, just touching upon some ideas here about making ourselves all bands. Again, I have a label, but still playing music, still working on my own band and marketing and things like that. Yeah, shout out to Yanks Hat. Thank you. I got my lid on. Um, I think the goal is, and one of the things I always tell bands and artists, if you want to be taken on that next level, you have to look, not just sound. I mean, we're just going to assume that you sound on the next level. Okay, we're going to assume that. Because if you don't, then we can't have a conversation. Let's assume you can sound like you're on the next level, but you got to look like it. You got to look at that through all your posts. You got to look at that through your website. You have to look at that on how you're interacting. And yes, I understand it's hard for people to do that themselves, bands and artists. It doesn't mean you can't get help. It doesn't mean you can't get people to do your artwork for you. It doesn't mean you can't try to find someone to upload stuff. I hate that. I actually have someone that, does all this ISRC codes and load stuff and renames it. And he does a great job, and I don't have to deal with it because I got other things to do. And he does it a lot quicker, and I can focus on more important things. So I think you have to remember that if you want to be taken that way, you got to look that way. So if you think you're on that level of a lot of the other bands you see at other places, well, then you have to look like that. Because if you don't look like that, they're not going to take you, because there's so many. And by the way, if anyone's been to Memphis to see to see all the amateur bands that go down there for, and the Long Island Blues Society represents so many great bands that have gone down there. Um, um, there's just so much talent out there. So that's your competition. It's not just the competition here on Long Island. It's competition out elsewhere if you're looking to expand. Okay. I had Peter say, "Am I open to hearing finding new blues artists and groups to work with?" I will say this. Unlike some other labels that can anoint someone and then can take them there because they have a super powerful marketing and all that stuff. What I'm going to look for when I sign an artist is that they have pushed that rock of doing things at least somewhat ways that I can move it forward. If they don't have just some of the basic things that I mentioned, we can't have a discussion. I personally can't do that, and I think it shows a lack of effort. It does. I mean, yes, if you're a genius, then all bets are off. But other than that, I think you have to understand, if you're pitching a label, or you're pitching a festival, or you're pitching a booking agency, they want to see that you've done a lot of the work. I know that sounds crazy. That, well, is not what they do, but it makes it easier if you've done that stuff. I mean, again, if I'm going to select someone to work with, why would I select someone that I have to start from scratch? I don't know if that answers your question, Peter. I hope it does. Anything else before we call it a night? Okay. Thank you very much. Don't hesitate to me if after this you have more questions. As I said, I'm more than happy to send. As I said, I feel bad now. I could have put all these links on through the thread, but I'm more than happy to send you the PowerPoint if you came in late or you just want, that more information. I'm happy to do it for everyone. All right. Okay. It's bourbon time. I'll see you guys. I'll see you guys hopefully at a gig, whether at mine or at yours. I'm looking forward to it. You guys have a great night. Thank you so much, Long Island Blues Society, for allowing me to have some fun tonight. And I hope you got something